Okay. So yeah, just kind of grab any seat you want. Yeah. Okay.
If I sit in a chair this time, my back is bothering me.
No problem, yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, we're gonna start with a meditation. So just get comfortable, yeah. And this will, yeah. So all meditation is based on developing mindfulness, yeah. I said it. It's a recognition that the mind uh, and the objects of mind, which we call thoughts, are two different things. So our mind is like an empty field, and all of the thoughts are like plants and weeds, and they come up and they die. You pull them out, new ones sprout up. This is always going on. With meditation, we're trying to select those thoughts which remind us of the field, which remind us of the basis of our mind and how that is clear, intrinsically pure and happy, but cluttered. So, to begin the day and to set the stage for really being able to investigate our experience, to think in new ways, we're going to start to select and cultivate those thoughts which bring out a sense of awareness, a sense of calm and quiet and reflection, so that we can maintain an awareness of the field, an awareness of the mind in which things are arising, and not get caught up on specifics, on ideas or thoughts that are small in comparison. And one image I like to use from time to time is that of a hallway, and to imagine myself walking calmly down a hallway. And the hallway is not large, it's just wide enough for me to be able to walk through. The walls are, um, they have no defining characteristics, they're just simple white walls. And I can't really see the end of the hallway. It just fades into a light, and just walking. So it's not so much about the hallway, but you realize when you have nothing else to focus on, you begin to focus on the body that's doing the walking and on the process of walking itself. Without being able to see a destination, the place that you started from already far behind you, what becomes most important is this present moment. So walking calmly down the hallway. As we slow down, we can feel our arms and our legs, feel the orientation of our spine, even feel our breath. And this is, in fact, how we live every moment of our lives. So as we're walking down the hallway, we recognize we've always been in this situation. We don't know where we're going. And we've already left behind that which has come before. But if we really accept this, then it's not so bad, is it? Actually feels quite calm and pleasant to just focus on that of which we're directly aware, our body, the sounds around us, feeling of the air, our breath, our posture. And as we're walking along, with nothing behind us and nothing in front of us, we can see that if there's any weight or tension in the body, that is not coming from the past, nor is it coming from the anticipation of the future. But that weight, that tension is something that we are carrying with us right now in this present moment, whether carrying the burdens, the things that we've done or said, or tensing in anticipation of what comes next. But the past and future don't exist. All that really exists is the tension that we're creating in the present moment. Seeing this as we're walking along, we can let it start to unravel. We have thoughts of the past come in, of who we are, of what we are, of where we come from. We have this opportunity to just set them down and keep walking, realizing we don't need them today. They don't have to be relevant. We're creating a space of meditation where anything is possible. So gradually just setting down the weight, the burdens, and the baggage that we habitually carry with us. Just set them down and see what it feels like to continue walking. Likewise, any thoughts we have of the future, plans for lunch, plans to check our phone, plans on where we go after the meditation, plans on a future vacation, this or that, we can recognize when they come up that they refer to something that doesn't exist yet. And that even if we do get to a reality in the future where these thoughts are relevant, we will have to leave where we are right now to do it. So with this, we can loosen our hold on our plans, recognize that our future can change based on the decisions we make right now. And the less we anticipate, the more possibilities we have. As we walk along, feeling our breath, feeling our spine, feeling the tingling of our skin. We can become so light, it's almost as if we lose track of where our body is. All we have is a hallway stretching out in front of us. And even our thoughts slow down and begin to sense the space between them. How light and carefree can we become? If we feel any weight or tension arising in the body or in the mind, we don't even have to figure out where it's coming from. We just remind ourselves there's nothing we need to hang on to, nothing we need to cling to. Anything can be put down. So there's no need to change your posture if you don't want to. Um, I'll begin to talk on the theme of the day. You can be comfortable and consider the words that I'm saying, but also consider, did you just surprise yourself with the state that you found yourself in, or what you were able to let go of? I think this is the simplest starting exercise in Buddhism, and many people are approaching from the beginning steps of meditation and realizing, hey, wait a second, that thing I was holding on to, I actually could let it go, and it felt kind of nice. So why do I ever pick it back up? Why do I carry that idea with me? Doesn't need to be there. And this goes very well with today's topic. Yeah. So the topic of the day is on the fetter of doubt. And that should probably mean absolutely nothing to you, though many of us who have read the books um, are probably convinced that we know exactly what that means. But if I was like, well, describe it, as anybody would get tripped up. Well, so it'll be a definition in 3 parts before we can even get started. And that's the first part of the definition is, what is a fetter? Because this is not a word that people use. Yeah. The word fetter is any kind of rope or bond or chain, and it meant something back in the time when people rode elephants and horses, because, or you had a cow or a bison, it's too big, you can't stop it from moving once it gets started. So instead you have to keep it from moving. You have to fetter its legs so that it can't get to a run. But this is not a word that we typically use. So today I'm going to use a different word that I think will have connotations that go well with the topic, which is shackle. So we know what a shackle is. Yeah, it's a kind of iron bracelet that, or necklace or anklet, that can get chained to something to hold you down. Yeah. So if somebody were going to keep you as a prisoner, if I was going to keep you a prisoner here in this meditation retreat, I could put this heavy iron bracelet on you and chain that to the floor. You're looking at me like, wait, is that part of the program? But that's exactly the image that I want to evoke for the moment, because now so we'll get to how that applies. So the second definition is, what is doubt? Yeah. And the Buddha uses a pair of really descriptive similes, or sort of metaphors or images for what doubt feels like. And one of them is, he says, suppose somebody doesn't have a mirror, but they have a bowl of water, and they are trying to examine their reflection in the bowl of water. What conditions would make that the easiest, right? Well, if the water is clean and clear and still. But no, you just like, yeah, there's all sorts of things that could prevent the water from being a good mirror. And he talks about, like, the water could be colored, or the water could be covered over with algae. But for doubt, he says, suppose the bowl of water was in a dark room, such that you couldn't even find your way around, let alone find where the bowl was. Well, in that case, it wouldn't be a very good mirror. You could have it right in front of your face and you wouldn't be able to see anything. And that's one of the ways of understanding doubt, is you could have something right in front of your face and still not to be able to see it, still be in confusion and searching around. The other image he uses is this feeling of back in the day when there were caravans and traders who would travel from one country to a distant country carrying valuable goods. And suppose a caravan of these traders was going through a dangerous mountain pass, yeah, not knowing what was around any corner, not knowing if they were getting sidetracked or going in the wrong direction. And that feeling of entering into a place of uncertainty and confusion and not knowing the features of the things around you is a lot like the experience of doubt. And you can probably think of times when you've doubted everything, right? You're like, am I doing this right? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? It's like, who's this? What is this? What's going on? Is this okay? Is this safe? Yeah. Should I be concerned? And we all have these experiences, and it's a very normal experience. But now, to complete the definition, what is the fetter of doubt? And this is where we take that very normal human experience of not knowing and we apply it specifically to Buddhist practice or to spiritual practice in general. That is, when we set aside worldly concerns and we ask ourselves, what is the thing that would get in the way of us developing our habits, our thoughts, our viewpoints? And this is the fetter of doubt is that which keeps us confused or keeps us spinning in circles, not knowing what to do, not knowing what is right, and not knowing what is worthwhile. Now, that's a very specific form of doubt. And again, that's normal. We wake up in the morning and we're not sure what we're supposed to have for breakfast because scientists are telling us we need 100% of this and 100% of that and 100% of these. And every week they come out with a new thing that is the secret to not getting Alzheimer's or to avoiding cancer or to being healthy and vital and strong. And there's no stable reference point there. And so we wake up and already we're like, I don't know what to do. Right? So it's a very normal experience. But one of the interesting things is when we enter into spiritual practice, we might realize we want to be happy. we see somebody who is confident and secure and openly delighting in wholesome mind states filled with love and kindness and devotion, and we're like, oh, I want that. Yeah. So this is a really interesting thing, is that when we're starting out, we realize it's not binary. It's not either we have it or we don't. In Buddhism, we talk about the fetter of doubt to recognize if we don't have faith, if we don't have confidence, if we don't know what it is that's worthwhile to be doing right now, that that is something we can work on. And if we find that I want to have faith, I want to have confidence, I want to know what the heck I'm doing, we can condition that state. It's not an on-off kind of thing, but it is produced. There is a cause for doubt, and there is a cause for faith and for wisdom. And if we begin to investigate doubt, we will be investigating the basis of faith and the basis of truth and the basis of confidence and of all the things that we actually really want in our lives. So this is a worthwhile pursuit. This is worth investigating. Yeah, we shouldn't just take it, just accept whatever level of confidence we've got and just kind of, try to use our meditation to scrunch ourselves down into that little box and be safe and secure with, okay, this is all right. And it's very possible you could go to a meditation center year after year after year after year and kind of get all the cushions right, and only come when there's the teacher you like, and only come when there's not the people that really bother you and breathe heavy, and get everything just perfect so that you can, okay, I'm safe here. Or we can begin to investigate, well, what is the basis of feeling safe? And if we really thought about that and got to the bottom of it, we would know how to access that all the time. Yeah, so I wanted to use that image of the shackle um, very specifically. Is imagine now that I were going to shackle you into this meditation retreat. Yeah. And I was gonna chain you to the center of the floor there so that you couldn't go off and go watch a movie. Yeah. And I'm like, there, you're here, you're gonna examine your mind. Today's the day. You've got no choice. And it might sound ridiculous, but there was a monk one time named Buddhaghosa who did that with his father. He caught him in a trap and and taught Dhamma to him for days and days until when he finally gave up because he couldn't go anywhere else, he started listening to his son and attained faith and wisdom. But I'm not going to do that to you because I think we can categorically agree that that's illegal. It's not a good idea. But nevertheless, that image of shackling you to the floor, yeah, to me is clunky and it's unnecessary, because in the Buddhist teaching we realize there's a better way to do it. Now, if I were to chain you to the floor, sooner or later you would get out, right? You would twist the thing off, or you would pull out the floorboard. You would use use the butter knife I gave you for your toast, and you would saw your way through the chain. You would get out eventually, right? Because why would you stay put? So a chain or a rope is not the best bond, is not the best way to hold something still forever. Suppose instead I were to convince you that you couldn't leave. So through talking to you, through putting up signs, through lecturing you, I was to convince you that it's not safe out there, that it's only safe in here, that there's no food out there, that there's only food in here, that this is where you're supposed to be, and out there you would be lost forever. If I were to form in you a view that um, you don't want to leave, then that would be a much stronger chain, right? That'd be a much stronger shackle, because I wouldn't have to do anything. From that point, you would be the one, instead of like sawing through your shackle, you would be making it stronger. You'd be like, that's right, I like it here. And it's like, that's right, I don't know anything about the neighbors. They could be waiting for me. Just I do know people who are like always looking out. It's like, oh, so and so, they're going to their car. I can't go outside right now. They'll talk to me. I actually I know people like that. Yeah. And so it's the same in Buddhism and spiritual practice in general, right? The strongest shackles are the ones that we put on ourselves. The strongest shackles are those views that we form. And so, in some ways, this retreat was already a success before we started, because in preparation for it, we had a lot of good conversations about doubt. And what we realized along the way was that we're not just talking about doubt. We're not just talking about this sense of uncertainty and hesitation and confusion about what is worth doing. We also have to talk about the things that we do to cover up that feeling, which is quite unpleasant. And that is, we form views about things. And so, what is the antidote to feeling uncertain and unsure is to develop certainty about something, yeah, to form viewpoints and to tell ourselves stories about this is safe, this is right, I am right, they are wrong. And so to really talk about doubt in the way that we shackle ourselves to our present situations and prevent ourselves from changing and from growing, we have to also address the viewpoints that we form as as a reflex, as a response to doubt. Because realistically, if we look around or if we look at our lives, that's what's going to stand out, right? Is not all of the things that we don't know, and all of the things that we're not sure it's the right way. It's all the things that we're sure about. Yeah. And that what we get into trouble when we encounter somebody who calls that into question, right? And we realize that we're quite attached to it. And somebody says something like, you're wrong. And now it almost doesn't matter what the view is, right? Because any view that we can cling to so strongly that we don't want to let it go can be a source of suffering that prevents us from growing. So any view that we grab onto and we get so angry and certain that we're right and they're wrong can prevent us from recognizing that being angry is not making us happier, right? The definition of, right view is to know that there is suffering and that suffering has a cause, that cause being craving, clinging, identification, being greed, hatred, and delusion. Yeah. When we have these things, we suffer. When we don't have these things, we don't suffer. Yeah. And that's why then do we find ourselves in situations where we can't stop being angry, where we can't stop clinging to something? Surely this is right. Surely this is right, and they are wrong. And why do we find ourselves in that position? Well, if we were to set that view off to the side for a second, what we would find underneath it is this uncertainty and doubt. Well, what would it be if I didn't know that? What would it be if I wasn't sure about that? Well, I would be unsure. And that's terrifying, right? We're quite certain we know what the right political party is. Well, what would it be if somebody called that into question and said, well, really? What if we set that to the side? Well, what would I be without knowing what the right political party is? Who knows? I might accidentally go the other direction, and I might find myself in a group of a group of people I don't agree with, right? But is that the scariest thing? Or is it scarier to consider what would life be like if I never called into question, you know, what I actually believed or what was actually useful? Yeah. Could it be that if I allowed myself to be uncertain about a few things, I would find new ways of doing things? I'd find that actually I agree with people on both sides. Yeah. Right now, it's just, yeah, I'm not sure that that's possible. But if we really investigated, we would find that the things that we're holding on to are what make it impossible to imagine that. And if we loosened our grip on the things that we're holding on to, it really wouldn't be that scary anymore. That I could find something somewhere, something that I agree about with everybody. And would that be a better state? Yeah. And this is when we start to consider who is putting the shackle on me that says I am of this political party? Who is this putting the shackle on me that says I do things this way, or I eat this kind of food, or I talk in this way, or I like this particular hobby, or anything that we can form a viewpoint about? Who is putting the shackle? Yeah. I can't do that to you. Yeah, we are shackling ourselves. Yeah. So today, we started out with the meditation exercise. So just imagine walking along and just kind of like dropping these weights as you go. And now, as we start to talk, maybe some of them are coming back and they're so habitual, we don't even realize that we carry them with us. I'm anticipating what I'm going to do next, or I really want to check my phone because I think so and so is probably trying to get in contact with me to let me know that my cat is really missing me or something. We find that we carry these things with us. Like, did I park in the right spot? It feels odd. It feels, it's a little itchy, oh, I don't know, and but can we catch ourselves? And we're like, see the mind as it's flip-flopping through this, as like one teacher said, it's like spinning. Doubt is like spinning in circles, not knowing which way to go. And can we not run away from that experience and kind of sit with that experience? And we'll be starting out like, just what is that? What are the things that scare me? What are the things that I've never really allowed myself to consider? Right. And will also be, I invite you to kind of poke yourself, because this can be really useful. It's a really safe space to kind of do it. Find a view that you're really stuck on. And then, since nobody knows what's going on in your head, just imagine for a minute that you don't believe that you're actually not holding on to that view, right? And nobody has to know. You're not going to lose your membership in that particular party, or nobody's going to judge you. Yeah. And just ask yourself, well, what would it be like if I wasn't so sure about that? And see if it's not, maybe, I don't know, a little looser and freer to not be holding on to that. And this can be a really amazing experience if you'll give it a try. Now, I could have started by talking this up and saying that this is an extraordinarily important part of Buddhist practice, but then you'd maybe not have considered it from your own perspective. Instead, you'd say, okay, well, this is something I got to get. Let's say, how do I do this? How do I master this fetter of doubt? I'm going to cut this fetter of doubt. And you'd be like, what does that even mean, the fetter of doubt? Yeah, how are you going to cut it? Yeah, but now I've already explained what you're going to do. You start by recognizing those places where you're holding on to things that you don't really know, that aren't really certain. Yeah. You've got to loosen your grip. But once you loosen your grip, it's not that the world is going to end. It's not that you're going to fall into an abyss of uncertainty. It's actually, oh, you've dropped some weight and some tension. Yeah. And now we're just one step away from how you turn that experience of, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe that's not as sure as I think it is. It's just one step away to, well, what is sure? What is certain? What is true? What is reliable? And once we make that step, then all of the things that Buddhist practice entails beyond meditation and into, the stuff about loving kindness, about letting go and renunciation, the stuff about taking precepts and deciding that there are things that are really not worth doing. All of that starts to make a lot more sense. And it's not a question of, do I believe that or not? But it's like, does that feel like useful? Yeah, that feels useful. And suddenly there's no questions lingering, because there's no, yeah, but I'm really attached to doing it this way, because you've already let that go. So it's like, is it useful? Yeah, it's useful. Well, why wouldn't you do what was useful? Well, I guess there's nothing standing in the way of doing what's useful. Right? So I do kind of feel like a couple of like examples of this could be helpful to get the gears going, because we actually did this exercise yesterday, and um, I really want to challenge you. It's like, we will meditate. Yeah, what during the meditation periods, you can just follow your breath and just practice that letting go and letting go. But from time to time, if you find that you haven't moved into a state of utmost bliss, as though you're filled with light and you're just floating on a cloud, your body is so light, well, then maybe there is still something that you're a little attached to. It's possible. And so, how do we find out what those are? And today I don't know why this was presented to me, but do you believe that the earth is round? Or do you believe that the earth is flat? And I meet a number of people who just categorically are like, are you serious? Only an imbecile would believe that the earth is flat. But then I turned to Jim, and we were on the way back to his house. We were driving along, and I said, well, if the earth was flat, would that change how you were going to get home? And he's like, well, no, actually, the process of getting back home would be exactly the same. Like, do we need to cling to the idea that the earth is round? And for those of you that believe that the earth is flat, you are vindicated. Except that you have to acknowledge that if the world were round, it also wouldn't change how you get from place to place. And that the world could actually be round, even though we're not falling falling off of it. Yeah. Even though it's quite obvious that that thing over there is in a straight line. Right. But we're getting at something. It's like, did that create a bit of tension? Of course the earth is round. Do you know? Are you in space right now looking at a ball? Or have you ever been in space looking at a ball? And you've maybe seen pictures. You've maybe seen that the sun rises in one part and sets in another, but is that proof that you're on a ball? What do you really know? There are measurements, there are tests, but do these tests take you out into space and show you that the earth is a ball? Or do these tests point logically to the fact that you're on a sphere? But is that proof? Yeah. And what are the things that we grab onto? Because it feels like we would sink into an abyss if we didn't. Well, if I didn't know that the world was round, how would I get from point to point? This is like, how would I understand the stars? How would I understand the sun and the moon and the weather? The weather. How would I understand time zones if the world was flat? It wouldn't make any sense at all. But do you need to understand those right now? Is that necessary baggage for a meditation retreat? Is that something you can let go of and just set to the side and like, yeah, maybe the earth is flat. Maybe I'm a Republican. Maybe recycling isn't good. Maybe we shouldn't all compost. Maybe maybe I should shave my head. Maybe hair really is itchy and in the way. Maybe I don't need dinner. Maybe I do like TV and commercials. is this does it really have to be scary? Or does our mind start to loosen and empty out a little? Because I already know for a fact many of the people online have been dealing with this. Because you all sitting on a couch right now, I know categorically one of the things I know is that you're not on your phone. Yeah. So you're not dealing with views and opinions and arguments and debates blinging you every 5 seconds. Yeah. But those on the computer, I don't know for sure that you're not being assaulted by this. And every time you are, does it stir you up? And we find that it's very actually easy to get people to respond by poking them with something that they disagree with. And it's actually hard to get people to respond by saying something they agree with, right? You say it's really it's a little chilly today, and you're like, uh-huh, yeah. I say, oh, today it's so hot. You're like, no, it's not. No, it's freezing. What are you talking about? Right? What gets a better response? Saying the thing you disagree with. So our world is trying to get us to grab onto things. Yeah. It makes us easy to recognize, easy to understand, easy to they are this. But I want to create the environment where we can all not know where each other is at, not know what each other thinks, not know what's valuable to each other, because it's from that basis, that open field, that new ways of approaching things can arise. And even some of the things like certainty or faith or confidence or security or openly delighting in wholesome states. And nobody's going to think you're naive for doing so. Yeah. So give it a try. So we'll begin we're gonna be sitting and walking today. Yeah. So for the next little under 2 hours, I'll set the timer and it'll ding every half hour. Yeah. And so on the half hour, so at 10 o'clock and at 10:30 and at 11, it'll ding. And if you're sitting here and it dings, you can ask yourself, do I want to get up and walk? And walking meditation is not that complicated. You just find a little stretch where you can walk back and forth, and it's the same thing as breathing. Yeah, you come and you go, and you come and you go. It's an infinite walking path, and just do the same thing. And then at the half hour mark, if you're outside, you look and you say, okay, we're coming up at the half hour mark. Do I want to sit down? And relax, let things go. Most importantly, let things go. But then from time to time, is there any holding on? And what could you be holding on to? And just give yourself the chance, because it's quite possible that you're shackled by something and that nobody is doing this to you, that nothing that is the cause of your suffering is being done to you. It's like, do you know why that car went by blasting its radio? Do you know why the bugs are seeking you out? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? And just be willing to, every time this certainty comes up, you're like, really? Yeah. What am I certain of? And hopefully you'll start to realize that you're certain that you're walking, you're certain that you're sitting, you're certain that you're breathing, you're certain that that was a sound, you're certain that this is a carpet, you're certain, you're really not certain of all that much. Yeah. And that might be okay. Yeah, it might be okay. It might give us a lot of room to work with. Yeah. All right. And then at 11:30 we'll break for lunch, and by then I suspect there'll be a lot more people floating around. Yeah. And then we'll pick it back up at 1:30. Yeah. So yeah, we'll begin the meditation.